Underneath the hood of the Elantra, you're going to find a number of different engine choices available. So the base engine is going to be a 2-liter naturally aspirated, so a non-turbocharged engine. There's a 1.6-liter traditional hybrid. There's a 1.6-liter turbocharged engine. And then there's this, a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4. Power-wise is 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque. It is the most powerful option inside of the Elantra lineup. So if power's your thing, you're going to want to go this route. As always, so you do have the option for sport mode inside of this ride, but you've got the option for the N mode, which is going to unlock the best possible performance that you can find inside of this car. And got to get back up to highway speed here. So let's do a little 0 to 60 in 3, 2, and... $100. Hyundai! Oh, that is beautiful. Beautiful performance inside of a Hyundai. Like, you wouldn't expect it to be able to pull the way that it does, but you put your foot down and you are flying in this ride. So if power is your thing, you're absolutely going to want to go for the N version of the vehicle. The 1.6-liter turbo is nothing that you should snub your nose at though either. It does have pretty good performance overall. Man, the warranty inside of the Hyundai world is also pretty solid. In Canada, the basic and powertrain are a 5-year, 100,000 kilometers. Down in the States, the basic warranty is a 5-year, 60,000 mile, with the powertrain getting bumped up to an impressive 10-year, 100,000 mile instead. And then the hybrid components in the vehicle are covered for 8 years. While Hyundai is known for their feature-packed cars, the Elantra is the entry-level model, which means that you're not going to find a lot of extra technology in most trim levels. But because this is the N trim, you will find the forward and the reverse park sensing system. And then since this is the N trim level, there are a few different highlights that are going to be N specific. So the front lip of the bumper that wraps all the way around painted red, that even stretches across to the side and rear of the vehicle as well. There are LED headlamps inside of the ride. They're subtle, but they still look pretty good lit up at night. You're only going to find the Elantra N front-wheel drive. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada, the States, which trim level of the vehicle that you're in, etc. Front wheel is the only option. Not necessarily a bad thing though. I tend to prefer all-wheel drive in cars, but at the same time, if you live in northern states or in Canada, front-wheel drive with a good set of winter tires on there more than has you covered from a handling perspective. And this car does handle very, very nicely, but it does help that this is the N trim level of the Elantra. When you look at the wheels inside the vehicle, you are going to find 15 up to 19-inch wheels, depending on which trim level of the vehicle that you're in. Since this is the N trim, you've got this really aggressive split-spoke black painted wheel, which looks beautiful. The rear end styling of the Elantra is pretty good, and since this is the N trim, there are some extra goodies you're not going to find in the other trims of the vehicle. There's a little wing in the back, painted black, glossy black, which looks sharp. There's dual tip exhaust back here. And then pointed out in the front. So most trim levels of the Elantra, you're not going to find the forward or reverse park sensing system. But since this is the N trim, you will find the rear park sensors back here. The LED lamps inside of the Elantra do look pretty good lit up at night. And they do have a little glossy black bezel that traces all the way throughout, that stretches across. And then the blacked out badges in the back, just a nice touch overall. I gotta say, that sounds really damn good. And the thing you have to remember, this is a Hyundai, and that's a system that's stock right from the factory. Damn. Getting into the trunk of the vehicle can be done a few different ways. But there's a button just underneath the H in the back, so underneath the backup camera, that you can push in order to get inside. There's a release just to the left-hand side of the driver's seat, and then you can use the key fob. But one of my favorite features inside of the Elantra is the smart trunk. So just make sure the car is locked, and then you've got to get a few feet away, like 10 to 15 feet, for a few seconds. And then all you're gonna do is just walk up to the back end, and as long as the fob's on you and the feature's enabled, smart trunk. Such a great feature. It's really easy to use and I love it. It's not available across the entire Elantra lineup, but it is pretty cool at the same time. There's nothing really back here. Nothing off to the right or the left side. And then underneath, you're looking at just the inflator kit. So the air compressor as well as the goop. Since this is the N trim level of the Elantra, there's a little brace that separates the second row from the trunk. So you can fold down the second row seats in the trunk here. It's just that if you've got that brace, you're not going to be able to slide much in between there. But folding it down is the same way across every trim level. So there are releases along the back here. You've got to pull both the left and the right sides. And you could technically push it from the back if your arms are long enough, but you've got a great amount of cargo space inside the vehicle. If you're in the N with that brace, could you remove it? Yes. Do you want to remove it? No, it's for added stability inside of the ride. So you could if you want to, but it's definitely got its purposes there. I did mention that this doesn't have a spare tire, but if you wanted to add one in yourself, you could. Just pull out the inflator kit, slide one in, grab a jack, and Bob's your uncle. Just like it, there's such a good amount of space inside of this trunk. Filling up fuel inside of the Elantra is done just along the driver's side. One nice thing is that it's a locked cover. And in order to unlock, just to the left-hand side of the driver's seat, release you're gonna pull, and it's a cap system as well. There is the option of doing a locked cap aftermarket if you really wanted to, but you're set to go. When you look at fuel quality inside of the Elantra, it doesn't matter if you're in the hybrids, the 1.6 turbo, or this 2-liter turbocharged engine instead. Minimum manufacturer's recommendation across the board is just regular 87 octane. So regular gas is all you need to use inside of this vehicle. The 2-liter turbo, could you use like an 89 or a 91? Yes, but the performance gains are going to be very minimum. It's just that, like I said, 87 is the minimum recommended, so you're going to get pretty good performance overall. It's front-wheel drive, so by default, it's going to have pretty good economy. But the hybrid definitely is going to get better fuel economy than the 2-liter turbocharged engine here. So which way you go is going to depend on what you care about and making sure you balance out the cost of the hybrid, so the purchase price up front versus how much you're going to spend in fuel over the lifetime that you own this ride. Side view mirrors there. You can see featured turn signals in some of the higher trims. There's the blind spot monitoring system there as well. So if somebody enters the blind spot on either side, it's going to highlight there to let you know. There's also a little bit of intelligent access here. So you can push in order to be able to lock the doors, and then push in order to unlock. Oh, but look at that. Oh, and trim, which looks great. I mean, even looking at that side skirt there, that's good. But you've got this suede interior with a speaker all around. And then the majority of the trim level lineup is going to look something like this. So adjust your side view mirrors, unlock and lock with basic window control. A little bit of door storage there as well. On the inside, you can increase, decrease the brightness of the cluster screen and the infotainment. Turn traction control on or off. And then there's also a manual steering wheel across the entire lineup. You've also got your hood release, and since this is the 6-speed manual, clutch, brake, gas. Love it. These are your regular carpeted mats that you're going to find in the vehicle. Got this little end scuff plate there. And then a few things. So you can open up the trunk, open up the fuel door there as well. The seats inside the vehicle, fantastic. Like I said, this is the N trim, which is why it looks the way that it does. But the sport bucket seat is great. It's going to be a regular cloth seat inside of the lower trims of the vehicle, leatherette seats and some of the others, but The seat itself is great. And the one thing, so this is a manual seat, but in some other trims it might be power. But it's manual because this is the sport bucket, but most of the lower trims also have the option of moving it forwards, backwards, lifting the seat, lowering it, and then adjusting the backrest there as well. Ooh, but let's hop inside. Oh yeah, start up. I love that. I love that it's a manual transmission. But before I get there, there are so many other things. So you've got a fully digital cluster screen, little infotainment system there as well. And then honestly, for the most part, the basic layout is going to be the same regardless of the Elantra that you're in. And it's just that because this is the N trim, you've got a few custom buttons and then a rev matching button there as well. So with rev matching, as you go to shift, so you go to shift down, you'll notice the RPMs launch up. It's really, really good. But if you want a full walkthrough, like you want to know how to use the steering wheel buttons, navigate through the cluster screen, or go through the infotainment system, you'll find it down below. Now, this is obviously the N trim, which is why it's got this unique N mode. Otherwise, it's going to look something like that for the majority of people. So if you're not in the N trim level, but that looks good. The steering wheel all around is comfortable inside the ride. There's the option for a heated steering wheel down there as well, and it's heated all the way around. The infotainment system inside of the vehicle is great. You can customize the layout of the icons if you wanted to. So just do a button press to drag it around, customize it, make it your own. But outside of the N mode, it's going to be the exact same across the rest of the vehicle lineup. But with the N, you've got so many options. There's circuits, lap timers, launch control, and so many other things inside the vehicle. But like I said, outside of the N, it'll look the exact same regardless. Inside of this screen, it's going to be wired Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. If you're inside of the Elantra with the smaller 8-inch screen instead, without factory navigation, it's going to be wireless. But I mean, still, having factory nav, very, very useful. But through the screen, you'd also be able to utilize Google Maps, Apple Maps, and Waze if you're hooked up through Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. But yeah, like I said, if you want a full walkthrough, you'll find it down below. You've got a series of basic buttons here. So your start button, map, navigation, radio, things like that. And then audio control. So inside of the vehicle, there are 2 different speaker choices that are available. So it's either going to be a 6-speaker system standard in the lower trims, and then there's an 8-speaker Bose sound system inside of the higher trims, including this one. There's either single or dual zone climate control, basic fan control. There's heated seats in most trim levels of the vehicle. And then there's only one trim level, I believe, that has ventilated first row seats, and that's the limited hybrid down in the States. But outside of that, it's just going to be heated first row. There's a 12-volt power point down there, a few USB power points, so a USB with a data transfer, and then a USB Type-C that's strictly charging. There's a wireless charge pad down there, a button for drive modes, so you can adjust out between either eco, normal, or sport. And they're going to play with things like traction control, stability control, things like that. There's also a camera button there in order to get you to your backup camera. So no 360 option, but you've at least got that backup view instead. From there, if you've got the option with the park sensing system, you can toggle that beeping on or off. And then I mentioned, manual transmission. So there's the option for either the manual transmission here, so 6-speed manual, or there's, I guess, a 7-speed DCT. There's the 8-speed as well inside of the N trim level of the vehicle. But I just love my manual transmissions. When you're in the automatic in some trims, you will have paddle shifters as well, but it's such a good system. But if you want to know how paddle shifters work, if you're in a car with paddle shifters or a hand shifter instead, check down in the description of this video. You're going to find nice manual parking brake there, a few cup holders with a little removable tray. This little guy has a good amount of space there. And then you also can make it out there. There is ambient light that looks so good at night. And you've got the option inside of the screen. So you can go to your setup, vehicle, lights, ambient light, and you might be able to adjust the color. And because of the trim level of this one, you can customize the color up to 64. Yeah, you can see it going out there. 64 unique colors, which it looks good during the daytime because of that nice little highlight, but it looks really, really good later on at night. Like the walk up in this car is solid. There's a little glove box there that's non-lockable. Good amount of space. The dash, the visibility here is also pretty solid too. And the space inside of this car is also good. So hold on, with the seat as far down as it's going to go. This is ridiculous. So I'm 6 feet tall and I've got 3.5, I'd probably say about 3.5 inches of headspace there, teetering almost on 4. So if you're taller than like 6'4", you might have difficulty getting into this car. Otherwise, you'd have more than enough space. I gotta go set the seat up. Yeah, there we go, the way that I traditionally would. The mirror inside the vehicle is auto dimming, and there's also the home link system. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, you can program that in. There's also your basic controls for your cabin lights there. And then there's this for a little sunroof. Look at that, not full panoramic, but still that's pretty nice. And then one cool thing, single button press to open it up the majority of the way. Secondary button press opens it up. That lasts a little bit. It's a little bug guard there, but because it goes down, the outside profile looks pretty good. Solid. From there, you've also got a little vanity mirror, light built in over top, ticket receipt holder, and then this stretches out to block all of the sun. That might be hitting your face. But yeah, like I said, overall, I think that Hyundai did a pretty good job here. Little holy crap handle for the passenger, just in case you need to hang on as you go. But let's take a peek at the second row here. And actually, you know what? Safety, I'm gonna turn that off. Just because if it was the automatic, I wouldn't, but because it's the manual, the last thing I want is to be in the back here as it slips into gear. But you've got just basics here, your window control, a little bit of storage. Folding down the second row seats has to be done from the trunk. There's no way to do it here. Up over top, those are your top tether points. So you've got your anchor points in the seat, top tether points available there as well. But, oh, looking here, good amount of space overall. I mean, I think that's solid. Okay, highlights here, because this is the N trim, you've got see-throughs, tickle the driver as they don't tickle the driver, but you've got little pass-throughs there. Style is neat. Like I said, the sport bucket seat is comfortable, but the driver's seat, the way that it's set up with me being 6 feet tall, inside of the second row, I've got a good amount of knee space, foot space, and up overhead. With me sitting fully upright, it's tight. So fully upright, my head's actually touching the very back. So I'd have to kind of hunch a little bit in order for it to work inside of the second row. But I can fit back here. It's tight, but it's doable. But if you've got kids, like I mentioned, if you need kid seats, the anchors and the tethers are there if you need them. Fitting 3 adults back here might be a little bit tight, because as we get to the middle, there's a hump there. And it's like, yeah, me sitting fully upright, I've got to dip my head down. So I'm not fitting in the middle seat. And it's not comfortable in the middle seat by any stretch, but the outboard seats here are fairly nice. There might be a map pocket inside of some of the other trims of the vehicle, but not in the end because of the sport bucket seat. You've got a few USB power points down there, so 2 USB Type-C, and they are power points, no data. On the side there, nice and simple. Got a little handle on the passenger side, handle and a hook on the driver, and then up overhead, cabin control light as well. There are no cup holders built into the seat of this vehicle, and then the outboard seats here, so you're not going to have the heated seat option inside of this trim level of the vehicle either. But overall, I would say that Hyundai has done a pretty good job here. I said it's one of the last performance sedans that's available in North America that has a 6-speed manual transmission. So if you're the type of person where you want a manual transmission in a car that has good performance at the same time, the Elantra could be on your list. And the handling. You just wouldn't expect that from a Hyundai. Like, I've driven the Elantra N before. This is probably 2-3 years ago now. And while I did find the performance good at the time, I wasn't really able to open it up the same way that I'm doing right now. One thing that I appreciate inside of the Elantra over the Mustang is that it's front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive. And the reason why I appreciate it is because this would actually make a good year-round driver, depending on where you live, right? So I'm in Canada, which means that we get snow a couple months out of the year. So I wouldn't want to drive a Mustang in the wintertime. Like, the likelihood of you getting stuck, wheel slippage, things like that is too high. Versus in a front wheel drive car, you'd get good winter performance, but you also get really solid handling. Oh, it does help the tires that this car has, but that is good. And then the turning radius. Is solid too, nice and tight. It helps that it's a sedan, lower to the ground, and back up to speed quick enough. But that N mode, oh, it's just something else. It's just such a fun, peppy little car. Such a nice drive overall. The sport bucket seats inside of the ride are good. It is a little bit of a louder ride overall, but I mean, it's a small car. It doesn't really have much in terms of noise cancellation. But I mean, that's a sacrifice you're going to make for the sound that this car has stock from the factory. Love that red matching. It is pretty solid. And that was a look at the Elantra N. You can find build details and links off to Hyundai Canada and US down in the description, along with tech walkthrough videos for everything inside. But if you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and until I see you next time, take care.